Hi, everyone. I'm Teri.
And I'm Ella.
Welcome to the Chasing Red Flags podcast, Let's Get Real.
Here, no topic is off limits.
And real beats perfect every time.
Welcome to the conversation.
Welcome to where you belong.
You're part of the family now, so let's get real together. Hi, Mama.
Hi, sweetie. How are you?
I'm good.
You look beautiful.
I miss you.
I miss you too.
And I love you.
I love you.
And I know this is going to be a hard episode.
I haven't talked to you all day. I know this is going to be hard.
Yeah.
So we'll catch up after.
Yeah.
So let's just get right into it.
Let's do it.
Thank you for being here. Before we begin today's episode, we want to give you a heads up that we will be discussing some very difficult topics, including the loss of a child and the devastating impact of fentanyl. Today's episode holds a special place in our hearts because Ella and I lost a close family friend to a fentanyl overdose, a devastating experience that opened our eyes to the gravity of the crisis. When we connected with today's guest, Bradi Harrison, her mission to raise awareness about fentanyl and to honor her son Jack's legacy deeply resonated with us. Conversations like this matter, and we hope that we can prevent more families from facing such heartbreak by talking about it.
And we know this is a very sensitive and intense topic, so if it's not the right episode for you today, we understand completely. Take care of yourself, and we would absolutely love for you to join us next time or explore another episode that feels better. And before we officially start, we just want to say thank you for being here and for these important conversations. We appreciate your support, whether this is your first time listening or 15 plus of the episodes. Please subscribe to the Chasing Red Flags podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to yours. And don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel to watch all of the episodes.
Today, we are deeply honored to have a special guest with us to talk about her son Jack's life, his legacy, and the urgent need for awareness around the dangers of fentanyl. Jack Nathan, the founder of HappyJacksWorld, tragically lost his life on July 3rd, 2020, at just 19 years old. One party, one night, one pill, 1 millisecond decision, and Jack never woke up.
Jack was a college student and a very talented artist who created HappyJacksWorld, a platform to raise awareness and fund mental health resources. And he struggled with anxiety and depression and wanted other kids to know that they were not alone. His family describes Jack as not a victim, but as a survivor who was working to make the world a better place through his art and through his advocacy.
After Jack's passing, his mom Bradi has continued his mission. Today, we're here to honor Jack's memory and discuss how we can prevent more lives from being lost to fentanyl. We are honored to welcome Bradi Harrison to the podcast.
Oh, thank you so much.
Of course.
I'm honored to be on your podcast.
Oh, well, thank you.
Thank you for being here.
I can't even begin to imagine the pain that you've experienced. And I want to obviously thank you for sharing Jack's story with us today. Can you tell us about Jack and the kind of person he
I would
was
love to.
and what made him so special?
Jack was magnetic, and it seemed as if everyone was drawn to him, but he was charismatic and funny and transparent and loving. You know, he loved to the depths of his soul, and the most incredibly loyal friend you could ever imagine. Yet underneath all of that, my son struggled with anxiety and bouts of depression and had been in and out of therapy. And I always wanted him to explore medication. He was adverse to it at the time. As a parent, you can't force your child,
Of course.
into a situation, and he wanted to manage it the best he could. And it hurt to watch, for sure, at times. And, as a parent, you know that you can't fix your child. Is like the most helpless feeling ever.
The worst.
Yes.
He'd just walk up to me and be like, "Can I have a hug?"
Oh,
He was like delicious.
I love it.
It was like hard to be mad at him, even though he like made me crazy sometimes. But he started painting as a means of channeling his anxiety into something. It's like you don't know what to do with yourself. And he literally started painting in the basement. It turned into painting in his fraternity house. And he would literally just like put on headphones and blast Mac Miller and
Oh.
just disappear.
Oh,
That's Ella's
my
favorite
favorite.
music.
Yes.
Yep. Mac Miller got me through a lot as well. So
my son was crushed when Mac Miller passed.
yeah, that was
Crushed.
Yeah, music has a real impact, on especially with anxiety. Ella has a lot of anxiety.
Yes. And I am grateful that he had that outlet
Yep.
in terms of painting. And like I said earlier, he was incredibly transparent about his struggles, and he almost like wore it like a badge of honor.
Which is so rare and incredible. He,
Yes.
Such an
Yes,
incredible
very.
human that he was so open about his
I
struggles.
mean, at 18 years old,
Right.
19 years old, and he would be very forthcoming with his friends and, speak like, I'm in my head, I live in the gray, I'm not happy. And it wasn't the I'm not happy, like, I want to go buy something new. It was like, I'm not happy on the inside and I don't know how to achieve that happiness. And, as a parent, no matter what you do, what you give them, it's like you can't, put a Band-Aid.
You can't.
Or give them a magic medicine to make that go away. So again, it was hard watching him, but he came to me one day and he said, I have an idea. What if I sell my designs on apparel with a portion of the proceeds going to help kids like me? And I said to him, Jack, if you help just one person, and I get emotional, so
As you should.
Please.
then it will have been worth it. And he was like steadfast. He's like, I got it. It's Happy Jack. Happy Jack was like a nickname a casting director gave him when he was a baby. He used to do modeling for like Pampers, and he had this like huge gaping smile.
Oh, I love that.
So he's like, it's Happy Jack. And he went back to school and started like printing and heat pressing and sold them to kids at other schools. And before you know it, he was like in his dorm room, like with 150 orders. And
wow,
it was
incredible.
It was crazy. And
it's inspiring.
He texted me, I believe it was, the actual date was January 9th. So I have all my texts.
Yeah.
And he said, Mom, I'm back. I've never been this happy in my life. And he was doing what he loved, which was painting and creative. And he was surrounded by the people that he loved. And he was very entrepreneurial. So he was like on this, high. And then COVID hit.
Right.
And, all of that was taken away from him and everyone else, not just my child. And, he had to come home.
It's really important that people understand that Jack's tragic death was not tied to his struggles with mental health. So for us, we want to, make sure that people know that it was a result of one decision he made one night with friends. So if you're comfortable, could you walk us through the day?
Yes, absolutely.
You lost Jack.
So he successfully launched Happy Jack out of the basement, literally with his friends. And let me think, June 7th, I believe, was his launch date. And I literally lost him a month later. Literally a month later. And he had just launched, he's like, Mom, I'm going to change the world for kids like me. I'm going to make a difference. Everyone's going to know my name. And I'm like, okay.
But Brady, he is. He still is through you, which is incredible. It's truly incredible.
It's hard to go back. You go through the what ifs and why didn't I do this and why didn't I do that? But in any event, I don't think I would have been able to change the trajectory of that night. He went to a birthday party, a 21st birthday party in Marlborough, New Jersey. And he texted me that he was going to sleep over which I was glad because I didn't want him driving home that late. And he's just wrote something very simple, not safe to drive home. I'm going to sleep here. This was almost at midnight. And he wrote, I love you more than life, which is very Jack. And I said, I love you too. And that was our last text exchange. And at some point after 11:50, he took what he thought was a Percocet. And my son did not wake up. And when we got the results, because I, have to remember this is 4.5 years ago. I didn't really know that much about fentanyl. I had heard of it, but it wasn't the epidemic and it wasn't the crisis that it is now.
Right.
Because I was wondering, like, when you first just became aware of the dangers, like, was it that night? That's when it really...
I couldn't wrap my head around it, and I still have trouble wrapping my head around the fact that literally grains of sand
Right.
can stop someone's heart. So for me, I'm like, to try and make sense of that, of something so senseless.
Right.
Yeah.
And not being able to learn from his mistake.
Yeah.
The permanency of it is heartbreaking. And I miss him dearly. And like I said, I don't think that if I had done things differently, I would have changed anything that night. My girlfriend said, like, she likened it being like, crossing the street at the wrong time and getting hit by a car.
Right.
But
Right.
Is
that the first night that you became aware of what fentanyl was?
Pretty much.
Right.
I remember Jack's dad saying to me, it was fentanyl. And I'm like, what?
Right.
Yeah.
And then I had known from a friend of his that he had taken a Percocet. And I was like, you don't take a Percocet and not wake up in the morning.
No.
Yeah.
And I imagine, if I know my child, he probably took it at the end of the night to chill and be able to go to
calm
sleep
down.
because he had anxiety.
Right.
Yep.
I cannot confirm that. My son had no alcohol in his system. He did have marijuana in his system, and that was it.
Right. So
What
do you wish people knew more about fentanyl?
In terms of mental health, I want obviously parents to know that if your child struggles, that they have a higher propensity to experiment.
Right.
They just do. I've spoken to enough moms and enough dads to know that, those are the kids that are most at risk. Yes, there are plenty of others who take an Adderall and don't wake up because the Adderall is now laced.
Right.
But,
yeah.
The statistic now is, it might even be higher, 7 out of 10 illicit pills are laced with fentanyl.
Yeah.
Enough fentanyl to stop your heart. So, what I say when I speak to kids and when I speak to moms is like, if you have a 70% chance of not waking up in the morning, would you still say, you know what? I'll take that Adderall even though I don't know where it came from.
Right.
Yeah. Because it's not just Percocet, it's Percocet, Xanax, Adderall.
It's all of them.
You name it. Now I'm hearing stories of pot, and it scares the shit out of me. I do have a daughter, and I get up for my daughter every single day. There are many people like, how do you continue? How do you go on? But I have a daughter who needs me. I have amazing parents. I have a significant other, and I don't have a choice. I don't have a choice.
No.
It took me 2 years to start talking about the reality of how Jack passed. I wanted him to be remembered for how he lived his life rather than how he left us. And I will be the first one to admit that I had my own stigma attached to fentanyl poisoning at the time.
Yep.
I didn't know enough about it I wasn't even strong enough to speak about it for about 2 years. I didn't leave my house probably for 6 months to a year. It was too hard for me to see everyone. Moving helped me to regain some of my mental health. But I am so sad for all his friends and
Oh,
for the people that loved him, because my son was 19, and I loved these kids. Like, I was
they
the
were your
house that everyone
family.
hung out in.
Right.
Yeah.
And for them to experience such trauma
Tragic loss.
at
Yeah.
such an early point in their lives, I'm not just sad for me. I'm not just sad for my daughter. I'm so sad for these kids.
Right.
Yeah.
It's something they all live with.
And,
Um,
there'll be forever change.
we had Dr. Jill Grimes on the podcast, and you were talking about, she was talking about how fentanyl is 50% or 50
Yeah.
times stronger than heroin
Heroin, yeah.
and 100 times stronger than morphine.
The morphine,
And
yeah.
she said that the DEA has a website, One Pill Can Kill, and that the pills are now looking exactly like they are printing them. And if you look at them side by side, you literally would not know the difference.
They look like a prescription
They
pill.
look like a prescription pill,
Correct.
which is
Correct.
terrifying. So as you said, and I just want to say it again for anyone listening, if you don't have a prescription, you have to be careful, because everything, if it's like you said, 70%, would you take a 70% chance of anything that you would do? Probably
No.
not.
And it's like, oh yeah, my friend gave it to me, or that, and everyone is, I guess, naive
I think they are.
Yes,
Ella,
a
you tell
little.
us,
Yes. Yes, 100%. I don't think people think that it will happen to them, and so they're
Right.
naive.
Nor
and
did
so
my
they
son.
just choose exactly. And so they choose to do it anyways. And it's
Jack told me I worry too much.
right. Well, I think that's
Always.
all kids tell
You
us.
worry too much. You worry too much. What am I going to say to him? Why the fuck do you think I'm worrying so much?
Right.
I
Exactly.
can't. He
Right.
lived a very fast and hard life because he was fearless. He jumped off of the cliffs. He drove very quick, very fast. But I don't think he would have changed a thing, because that's what made
That's what made him
Jack.
who he
Right.
is. Yeah.
I mean, he was wild and he was crazy, and
very
he
loved.
would jump off the roof and into the pool of a
Cool.
He was
larger
the
than
best.
life.
Larger than life.
Larger than life.
And,
I love that.
Ella, I believe you have siblings. So,
Yes.
I am sad for my daughter, because
I can't even imagine.
she sees me sad.
Yeah.
And it hurts her. And I think sometimes she thinks that she needs to be strong for me when, I don't want her to worry about me, but she does.
Of course.
She worries about me the same way I worry about her.
Mhm.
And, when your child hurts, you hurt. When your mother hurts,
You hurt.
you hurt. And, she's going through her own grieving process. I still say to her, even though she lost her brother, I cannot even drill it into her head enough times. Even with marijuana, it has to come from a dispensary.
It has to come from a dispensary.
You say that all the time,
I say that to
Mom.
Ella all the time.
You just don't know.
You don't
like,
know
you
where.
Want to smoke? I'm like,
go ahead.
Go nuts.
Fine.
Yeah.
Yep.
But
get it from somewhere safe.
So I'm sure you guys are aware of fentanyl test strips.
Yes, but we would like you to explain it to our listeners.
They are fentanyl test strips now, which there weren't before. And you must crush up the entire substance. Okay, so if it's a pill, you must crush up and dilute that entire substance before you put the dipstick in and retrieve it to see if it's contains a lethal amount. If you test half of the medication, there's something called the chocolate chip cookie effect, whereas like Ella can get a piece and you can get a piece and I can get a piece,
I got it.
It's not evenly distributed.
No.
So two of the kids could be fine and one doesn't wake up. And that's why you have to test in its entirety.
And so to me, it's like, if you feel you have to test something, don't take it.
I mean,
if you
I
are
agree,
anxious enough to have to test something, it's something you shouldn't be taking.
We don't think that way.
Yeah.
But you're right, Ella.
And then, what do you do after that? It's not a pill anymore. It becomes a liquid. You drink the liquid. I don't know how realistic, and Ella, maybe you can tell me this. I don't know how realistic that is for, a young adult to go through
Yeah.
the 4-step process.
Personally, for me, after my experience of being drugged, that is something that's very realistic in my life. But and I'm not speaking for everybody else, but I don't think that it is that realistic, which is
Yeah.
why I think it's so important to explain why it is necessary to be doing
Yeah.
that.
Right.
I mean, there is no such thing as recreational drugs anymore.
There isn't.
There's
No.
just not.
Absolutely not.
Ella,
It doesn't exist.
Ella and I lost a close family friend to fentanyl overdose. And it was the first time that, to be honest, I even learned what fentanyl was and how dangerous it is. And obviously, I'm a parent of 2 college students. And that was also the first time I ever heard of Narcan. I had never heard of Narcan before. And we follow your social media, which, is incredible. We can talk all about Jack's designs after because, they're fabulous. But
I'm wearing the bracelets.
I think we're wearing our bracelets.
Yep.
Oh, I love you
it.
guys.
Oh,
You're so cute.
we love it. Says for anyone listening, these are phenomenal bracelets from the website.
Amazing.
And
Love
everyone's into these, beaded bracelets now, but it says Happy Jack's World and it says fuck Fent, which fuck is my favorite word. So
Oh my God, your
Yes.
favorite.
it's my
And
favorite
we
word.
also have hats and shirts.
So much
and,
stuff.
Amazing.
I'll scream it from the rooftops. I don't care.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I guess for anyone listening, can you explain what Narcan is and why everyone should have it? Because it's something I feel
so
everyone should
Narcan,
have.
it reverses the overdose. Literally,
Completely reverses it.
It comes in a nasal spray, and you administer one, like the nasals sort of here, and you just push it, squirt it like an Afran.
Yeah.
Squirt it into one side, and if that doesn't prompt the person to be revived, you do again in the other nostril. The overdose rates have declined as a whole, but I don't, and I'm sure that a lot of it has to do with Narcan, but I don't know if you took fentanyl out of that, if the overdoses for fentanyl have declined. And I actually even hate the word overdose, which is
Right.
really,
I don't like that word
all
either.
of the parents that I have spoken to, like, we are very definitive in saying that it's a poison.
It's a
that
poison.
our children didn't know. They did not willingly take a drug. They
Yeah.
were poisoned, as opposed to someone who knowingly and willingly took a substance and took too much.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's, they were duped. They were murdered. I mean,
Yeah.
it was,
Poison.
yeah. And, I have spoken to many moms who have gone the legal route of wanting justice in the court system and going after those who sold it. And I didn't have the bandwidth.
Yeah.
For me, I couldn't get out of bed, like, let alone find out. I was like, I still wake up and I'm like, how is this my life? Like, what? How is this, like,
It's unimaginable.
I don't even get it. It, like, doesn't make any sense. And the only way I can rationalize it somewhat is by saying that Jack had to pass in order to save lives.
Yeah.
And that, I was told by someone, and this stuck with me more than anything else that anyone said to me. It was a woman from the Jewish community, and she said, our souls are sent here for a purpose and for a mission. And it's very clear to see that Jack achieved his mission and his purpose in a short amount of time.
Wow.
And
that's powerful.
I go back to that a lot.
Yeah.
Grief,
because
your grief never goes away, and losing a child is unimaginable.
No. So our continuing Happy Jack, our continuing to honor him, whether it's a billboard in Times Square or continuing his clothing line or speaking on podcasts, it's like, one, I don't want my son to be forgotten.
Never. Certainly not by us.
Thank you. The world continues. No. That's the reality of it. The world keeps spinning. I don't. I'm
You're
still in the same spot.
Yeah.
But his friends have gotten older. His friends have graduated and gotten jobs, and now some are getting engaged.
Oh
And
my God.
I won't have a child who does that. And it hurts. It hurts to watch everyone move on. And I keep speaking because, yeah, I don't want him to be forgotten. And also, I feel a sense of responsibility to prevent other kids like Ella and, whoever your friends might be, I mean, there's just a whole demographic that, I can't personally put on a cape and save, but if I could, it's the same theory as Jack. Like if I could save one person,
One
then
person.
it will have been worth it.
Ella and I say that all
All
the
the
time.
time.
If we can help one
Yes.
person, then it's worth
Yeah.
everything that we're doing. And I'm sure parents reach
Absolutely.
out to you all the time. What do you tell other parents who are grieving and trying to find a way forward? Because you have really found purpose, through Jack's, Happy Jack's World. What do you tell other parents?
I think grieving is very different for everyone. And what worked for me does not work for someone else.
Yeah.
Jack's father leads a very different life than me. I'm much more reclusive, and he is almost like distracted and keeps himself busy and going out, and
Yeah.
I'm the opposite. I turn inwards, and I don't want to see anyone. I don't want to talk to anyone. I became
Yeah.
like overwhelmed by the simplest tasks. And so for me to give advice to someone who's grieving, I don't know how much I can tell you what not works, but
Yeah.
I can tell you what helps me,
Yeah.
but I can't tell you what will help you because
Yeah. It's different for everyone.
some people want revenge on the dealer. Other people can't get out of bed. Other people, like it is really hard to see. And I speak to more of the moms struggling, but they see me 4.5 years out,
Right.
and it gives them hope.
Yeah.
But I say to them, and a lot of them have other children, like, you do not have a choice.
You
You
don't.
have
Yeah.
another child that you have to show up for. It's
Yeah.
just, that's the new reality.
Yeah.
And my daughter has become like my happiest place to be. Not that she wasn't, but I
Of course.
No,
derive
but especially, yeah.
Of
that
course.
authentic.
Yeah.
Like if you were to say, like, what makes you happy? I think happy is just, I don't
It's a
even
hard word.
understand.
No, that's
It's a hard
It's
word,
a hard
Yeah.
word.
but I can say that my daughter makes me happy.
Right.
Yes. And you have been such a powerful advocate for change, and it's so inspiring. And just kind of, I just want to know more, like, what do you believe needs to kind of happen at like the higher level, whether it's in like schools or hospitals or through policies to kind of prevent tragedies like what happened to Jack from
Yeah,
happening?
I think that's an excellent, excellent question. And, it does come from the top, and they
Mm-hmm.
are starting to prosecute the Chinese, who are the
Mm-hmm.
ones who are making the precursors for
Yep.
the pills, and the ones who are, I can't say solely, but who are responsible for the pill press machines that they are selling.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it goes straight to Mexico. However, I have just learned, that have uncovered a huge, I think it was 95.5 million doses of fentanyl in British Columbia. And that was enough to kill
Wow.
every one in Canada twice over. So it's not just Canada and Mexico. I mean, excuse me, it's not just China to Mexico. It's obviously now filtering out to
To
other
other
places.
places.
So I think holding those people accountable
Accountable.
is crucial. I
Yeah.
think that every school should have Narcan on hand. Every police officer should have Narcan on hand.
I have it in my first aid kit because I'm so lucky that I have a mom who wants me to just be prepared for anything. But I think that there are some parents that say that like giving their child Narcan feels like it's giving them permission to use drugs, which makes them uncomfortable. I don't see it that way, but like,
It's
what
not
would you
even
say to
your
parents who
child. It
feel
could be
that
your
way?
child's friend.
Friend,
That's
exactly.
You
why.
can't use it on yourself.
Right.
Yes.
If you're out, you're
Yes.
out.
Right.
You're
You're
not
out.
taking. It's not like an EpiPen that you can,
Right.
Exactly.
have the
Well, it's about being prepared
wherewithal.
to save somebody else's life and
Correct.
not condoning behavior. And I
Correct.
wish that more people saw it that way.
Right.
Well, there's another school of us who talk about harm reduction,
Yep.
and they're proponents of the fentanyl test strips. Like, if you're going to use, test it,
Right.
test
Absolutely.
it.
I mean,
You know,
it's the same thing as going to the dispensary. If you're going to
Yeah.
smoke, get it from a dispensary. If you're going to use,
right?
do, test with this test strip. If you're going to have friends that are experimenting with things, have Narcan on you.
Yeah.
Then you can save a life.
I do think that there are some parents who do not believe their child would ever, and I. They're almost self-righteous, and they do sort of attack me on my TikTok account, which
Oh,
is,
really?
oh yeah.
Oh,
My son would never, my daughter would never. I
Right
raised
when
them
you say,
right.
right when you say, I
that's
never as a mother, that's when they do.
Yeah, I could, I'd love to be able to say Jack never lied to me, but I didn't know that he was taking
yeah,
Percocet. I didn't know he would take it. You think
Of
he's going to come
course.
and say, you know what, Mom? He's not telling me that. No, and
yeah.
we were so friggin' close.
Right.
Like, you don't
Mm-hmm.
get any closer than my relationship with Jack.
Yeah.
Telling me that.
I say that
Mm-mm.
all the time. When parents and I are talking about Ella and our relationship, I always say, I didn't know she had an eating disorder. And we are so close when they want to hide
Yeah.
things or when they want to live their life, because our job as parents is to let them live their lives, right? And to love them and
Correct.
be close to them, but also to let them have that independence. We're not
Hmm.
in their business every second of every day, and we can't be, you know?
And I also know that Jack had said to me at one point, like, he didn't tell me things because he didn't want me to worry.
Right. And there's your protective, loving son that you talked about,
Yeah.
still looking out for you always.
Yeah.
Always. Yeah.
Well, you raise money for mental health as we do. And I think, that to me,
Yeah.
you've raised what, over $60,000.
Well over
Well
100,000.
over 100.
Yeah.
I mean,
So,
it's been 4 years, and we've been able to partner with, Jack's dad was in the music industry for a very long time, so we've been able to partner with the folks over at Z100 Radio, and we did a comedy show in the city, which raised a ton of money, which we were able to just make change with. We have a scholarship set up at University of Denver,
oh, that's
and
incredible.
the reason why I love it, it's not just like your typical scholarship. It's the student who applies for it
Mm-hmm.
and has to be awarded it, has to create a project surrounding mental health, no matter what your major is. So it's anything in the arts. So it could be dance, sculpture, videography, anything that expresses mental health and tells a story.
I love
So
that.
the
I love
first
that
year it was
so
awarded to
much.
this boy, Jonah, who took us through, he did this beautiful short film with a D1 athlete who is struggling with his mental health, and documented, I have like chills and documented the whole journey, and now
Same.
Is
thanked
that
us
anywhere
because
that
he's
we could
a
see?
filmmaker. I believe it's on YouTube.
Okay.
His
Okay. We will be watching
Jonah,
that.
We're going to have to find that because that's
Yeah.
incredible.
I would
forget
love to
I
watch
forget
that.
it. And then the next year it was awarded to another student, a woman or young girl, young woman, who created a theatrical program, theatrical show that actually Jack's dad went to in
It's amazing.
Colorado. But
That's amazing.
it feels good, and his fraternity still steps up to help raise money. And
I mean, I just have to say, from like, I know people think maybe it's Happy Jack's World is just a brand, but like to me and like researching and hearing from you, it's really truly a movement. And that
Mm.
is just, it's so much more than that. And
Yeah.
it really is so amazing. And I know we already said it, but like these bracelets, like we love it. And I know it's one small thing that you're doing, but it just makes me feel proud to have it on. And I also know Jack's sister, as we talked about, Drew, has been like a very instrumental part in continuing to help keep his legacy. And I know together you've partnered with the fraternities across the country to create more fundraising events and
Mm-hmm.
brand ambassadors on college campuses to continue to raise the mental health awareness. Can you explain a little more about Drew's role in Happy Jack World?
Well, I'm going to be transparent because that's what my son taught me.
Yep.
Yes.
Drew wanted nothing to do with Happy Jack.
Interesting.
And I believe I did not an interview with her, but I did a TikTok
Mm-hmm.
asking her. And she is keeps things close to the chest.
Yep.
Not
Yep.
She was very different than Jack like that. And I respect it. I would never
Yeah.
force Happy Jack on her. It helped me with my grief, but
Yeah.
I have 2 children and I
Yeah.
didn't want her to get lost in all of that. And I think at one point she felt a little lost.
I can see
And
that.
you give all your attention to the kid who's bleeding the most and
Yes.
Yeah.
and the other
Mm-hmm.
child who might be easier. So I didn't we didn't force it with
Force
her.
it.
When she was ready, she did an event in her sorority to raise money, and we created special product with her. But we've been to Ohio and Penn State and Texas and Boulder.
Come to
I think there's a
Maryland,
trip to
please.
Maryland in
We've
the
been to
future.
Maryland.
Maybe we go
We've
together
been to
next
Maryland.
year.
You've bet. Okay, so maybe you need to come
I
back.
know.
We did an event. Many of his friends were in fraternity TEP.
Oh,
So we did a
Oh,
huge event with TEP and
those are
Ella has all of.
my best friends are in TAP.
If you look on the website, which I'm obsessed with, obviously, because we got our bracelets and a hat. But what is your favorite design? Because they're very, I can just see him through them. If that makes any
Yeah.
sense, like
yeah.
you can sense him through his art. It's making me sad because it's like you look at each design and you're like, you can almost like imagine what he was thinking, and he's
Yeah.
so creative. And it's just, do you have a favorite one?
I will say the logo. And
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Because it
And
mine.
reminds you of
it,
his smile.
well, so he was very deliberate about that logo. And obviously the Happy Jack is for the eyes. But if you look at the smile, it's very sort of haphazard and crooked. And his explanation for that was like, sometimes you're not happy, sometimes you're not sad, you don't know how you feel. So he called it mixed emotions, that
Oh,
smile.
I love that.
And that's what I think a lot of kids, that's what makes them up, or just a series of mixed emotions.
I tell
And
I tell Ella every day, you can't have a happy day every day,
Every day.
no,
And the ones who pretend they
no.
do, which was Ella at a time,
Yes.
she got very anxious and had panic attacks, and it was very hard keeping a lot in. So the fact that
Mhm.
Jack was so open at such a young age,
It was so
is
inspiring for me. I resonate with it, and I'm resonating now, trying to be as open and transparent as he had
Yeah.
been. Like it's just an amazing thing. And so I hope to continue that as well.
Well,
how
I'm
do you
proud of
s-
you. I know your mom is, but I am too.
we're
Thank you.
both proud of you.
Thank you.
How do you see the future of Happy Jack's mission?
For me, it is so hard to know what my son would do.
Yeah.
And I find myself like almost like staring at the sky, like, tell me what to do. Like, what do you want me to do?
Right.
And I'm not Jack. I could never be Jack. He was an anomaly. And when we put out his designs now, I'm always questioning myself. And there's so much doubt with every single thing I do. And
Don't doubt yourself, because I can tell you, as someone who watches everything you put out and the way you put it out and the way you, for those listening, there's an Instagram and a TikTok, and you're just a lot of very straightforward, like you said, transparent messages about mental
Yeah.
health and healing. And it's incredible to watch. So you're doing good. He'd
Thank
be
you.
so
I'd
proud.
like to be able to sustain the business.
Right.
Do I know for sure whether that's going to be able to happen as more mental health brands move into the space and more people aren't tied connectly, immediately to my son.
Right.
It's not like it was when he first launched, that's for sure.
Right.
How many Happy Jack sweatshirts can his friends own other than like a dozen?
Right.
And to me, never enough, but it's challenging. And I feel sometimes like I want to recreate him and I can't do that. And like throwing spaghetti against the wall. But I'm sorry, that's like a very long-winded answer to
Of course
it's
not.
a
no.
simple question. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But I
we
think
get
that's a good answer.
At the top of the website, it says, "Let's lift each other up. Let's be kind. Let's live like Jack." And to us, that says everything about you, about him, and that's what we're gonna, focus on.
Take away from
And
it.
for anybody listening, I think that you should go on the Happy Jacks World website at HappyJacksWorld.com and check out all of his designs. There's also mental health resources, and you can donate.
And this is another question that you probably won't have an answer to because there's probably so many different things. But before we end, what would you like people to remember the most about Jack and who he was?
Jack wanted to instill the concept of being you and not to change for anyone and to everyone he spoke to. That was his be you, do not change for anyone. He did what made him happy, and that was Happy Jack. And he encouraged others to do the same. I tell my daughter this even, like, we have one life. We get no do-overs.
Yep.
And if you're not happy, if you're not deriving pleasure from your life, your job, your whatever it is, you have the power to pivot. And Jack was all about embracing who you are, which is why I'm able to speak the way I'm able to speak now is because of Jack. But yeah, don't change for anybody.
That's the perfect message. Thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for talking to us. We appreciate
Always
it.
and anytime.
She's absolutely incredible.
So brave and inspiring, and it was just an honor to have her on this podcast.
And so emotional, but also like she's so smart and she's trying to keep his memory alive, as will we, but also just kind of inspiring to hear about what she's been doing with Happy Jack's World, but also she's helping a lot of other moms. And
like she said, if you can help one person, then that's all that you need to do. It's all that matters.
To explore Jack's designs, access mental health resources, or donate, please visit HappyJacksWorld.com.
That's today's episode. If you know somebody who is grieving or struggling or could benefit from this conversation, please share this episode with them. And thank you for being here. We'll be back soon with another episode. And in the meantime, keep being real, keep being you, and know that we've got your back.
If you have any thoughts, questions, or just want to say hi, we would love to hear from you. Your support means everything to us. You can find us on Instagram and TikTok at Chasing Red Flags Official and on Facebook and YouTube at Chasing Red Flags. And if you want to share your story, ask a question, or pick up some Chasing Red Flags merch, go to ChasingRedFlags.com. The Chasing Red Flags podcast is produced by Jay Del Turco. We are new in this space, so if you enjoyed what you're hearing, please subscribe, rate, and leave a review on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, or add a comment and like on our YouTube channel.